going on, guys? Welcome back to Pure EVil MMA. I'm your host, as always, Evil Eddie. And it is, Wednesday right now? It's about 12:12 here on the East Coast in the afternoon. We have a special guest joining us here today, and it's been a minute since we spoke, here on the podcast. We got Adam Meredith joining us. What's going on, Adam? How you doing?
Hey, what's up, brother? I'm good, man. Glad to be talking to you again. It has been a little bit of time.
Yeah, I feel like it's been maybe close to 2 years, maybe even a little bit longer than that almost.
Yeah, definitely probably a little bit longer than that. I can't remember which fight it was that we spoke before, but I'm coming up, I think in May it'll be 2 years since I've fought last, so definitely probably closer to 3 years since we've talked.
Yeah, your last fight was in 2017. I think it was during the Jordan Dowdy fight, a matter of fact. No, it couldn't have been that. It was the Zach Bukia fight. I've had both Jordan and Zach here on the show. So, it's been 2 years since you had your last fight. What's been the holdup? Why have you, kind of stepped away, trying to get, your life into perspective, or what's going on there?
No, man, so it's just been like a complete life transition for me. I mean, I just reached that point to where competition in that sense doesn't really excite me anymore. It's not really where my passion is. So I'm doing some coaching now with some younger fighters. So that's still fun. I'm still around the sport, but I just don't really have the drive to actually compete in that cage anymore. I really enjoy coaching, and then I started my own podcast called Outside Perspective. I'm spending a lot of time doing that. I'm launching my clothing wear line is going to be launching here soon, the Imposed Wool line, which that brand's been around with me for a long time, and I've put out some products here and there, but just kind of since walking away from fighting and some other life changes, I've just been focused in just different areas now.
So, man, you started your own podcast, which is definitely healthy, and you're training or you're coaching, but is there an itch to have your hand raised again? Is that still there inside you, or you just really lost the will right now, just trying to find, really come to your senses about, what you want to do?
Yeah, no, dude, I don't have that itch at all, to be honest with you. I still have a competitive drive, but just not in the, in the sense of fighting or even jiu-jitsu. I train a lot of jiu-jitsu, and I'm actually over competing in jiu-jitsu. So just the whole physical sport competition, I'm kind of over that at this point in my life. And I like to compete in other areas, such as just business and just trying to grow and build the life that I want to live. So yeah, man, I get asked that all the time, but I don't miss it, nor do I really have the urge to do it again. I honestly, dude, I really started worrying about my brain more than you really can as a fighter. You have to put your own safety and health to the side whenever you step in the cage, and I don't enjoy that anymore. So it's not something I really ever see myself doing again.
Well, you know what? We're learning a lot more now in the last 5 years about CTE, and you're seeing fighters like even Vanderlei Silva have issues at this stage in their career. So what was it that really clicked where you were like, shit, I need to protect my, because man, you only have one brain. You're not gonna, you're not gonna get a new one. It's not gonna repair itself. The more you get hit, the more damage obviously is gonna, have a factor later on in your life down the road. Were you seeing any symptoms, or do you have coaches or friends where you're like, shit, man, I'm seeing the effects now? What was it that, really scared you about that?
Well, I've always been very health conscious, and I do a lot of my own research. So I haven't really seen too many symptoms with me personally, but obviously it's rampant in the sport. And just the more I've learned about CTE and TBI, I just became more and more concerned with the brain. And on top of that, so my daughter, when she was young, she was diagnosed on the autism spectrum. So that kind of also sent me down this path of learning as much about the brain as I can, and what can we do to aid the brain. Because, you're right, when you take damage, a lot of that is irreversible, but, we've learned a lot that there are particular areas of the brain where we can regrow new brain cells through neurogenesis, and there's certain things that can help with that process and aid in recovery. So things like CBD, even things like turmeric, because there's the anti-inflammatory properties there, or even like creatine has neurogenesis and protective properties. Lion's mane mushrooms, just all these different things that really help the brain. So I just really dove into that, and it's just not worth it. You're seeing kids in high school with as little as 4 years of high school football who have CTE. So I played high school football and I fought for a number of years. Luckily, I didn't take a lot of damage. I was never really a brawler like a lot of these other fighters can be. So it's just something that as you said, we've learned more and more about. So it's just we only have one brain. And in one life, and competition is only a small part of it. So I just figured, my health is far more important than going in there and fighting somebody for like a little few $100s or whatever it is. Like, you don't make a lot of money as a fighter.
You bring up CBD, and that's something that's really exploded. I mean, the first time I really heard of it, I've been smoking, weed since high school. But honestly, throughout that experience, we were always waiting for it to become legal. And now I think CBD opened up a lot of doors because it doesn't get you high. And the first time I heard about CBD, or at least looked into it a little bit more, was when Nate Diaz went into the post-fight presser, and he was sitting there smoking, and everyone was like, oh my God, he's going to get busted. And that's when everyone, a lot of fighters really started promoting CBD and the health benefits of CBD. So, for people out there that don't really know about it, what are the benefits of CBD? What are the effects that it has on you and that you've seen?
Yeah, dude, absolutely, man. So CBD, so for the listeners who don't know, is cannabidol. It's just one of many compounds found in the cannabis plant, but, it has been shown to have a lot of medicinal benefit. It's an adaptogen, man. So what that means is it basically helps the body reach homeostasis, and that can mean something different for everybody. So it's an extreme anti-inflammatory. So there are a lot of autoimmune disorders that stem from inflammation, just different things like that. So it can aid with that. I use it as a daily part of my recovery protocol. I take it for bed. It does help with sleep. It does help reduce stress and anxiety. So that's a big factor. Now, it also helps the body produce BDNF, which is brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is our brain's growth factor. Now, that's kind of what we were talking about, regrowing brain cells in particular parts of the brain, and that can help with that. So, there's just so many benefits of CBD, and like you said, it's not the psychoactive compound. So many people are afraid of that. They think that it's going to get them high. It's not THC. So there's nothing, conscious altering. There's just a lot of benefit to it. So, yeah, man, it's definitely something that I highly recommend. I use Jumbo Superfoods CBD. All their products are just phenomenal. It's all premium ingredients. They send everything to a third-party laboratory to be tested, so you know what you're getting. That way you're not getting any of the junk and the fillers, and you don't have to worry about getting high from there accidentally being THC in there because it's maybe a lower grade, quality product. So I would recommend anybody check them out. They can go to JumboCBD.com. They can use my code for from my podcast, which is outside, and they'll save 20% off their entire order, man. And they have a muscle bomb, which I use on my fingers and my sore muscles after training, and it's phenomenal, man. I love it.
Here's what pisses me off, and here's what I'm happy about. Like, there's so many doctors out there. There's so many medicines. Even aspirin, man, it's so dangerous for your liver. Like, the doctor, I was talking about this with Elias Theodorou, who is really big. He's from Canada. They finally legalized it in Canada for,
right. Yeah, it's
THC.
exciting.
But he was saying, like, after a fight, if I'm injured, they have no issue handing me a bottle of Percocet or a bottle of Vicodin. And I don't get in trouble for that. But yeah, if after a fight I want to, smoke a little weed instead of taking a painkiller, I'm going to get, suspended. I'm going to be out of work for 2 years like we saw with Nick Diaz. Like, it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, man, it's crazy, and you can extend that to just the general population, man. Whether it's a fighter or just a person who wants to just work a regular 9 to 5, man. They have to either seek relief from like an opioid, the synthetic, or sometimes they'll even get it in the streets, or they'll turn to alcohol, which is just gonna like you mentioned with aspirin and different things, or Tylenol rather, they break down the liver, man, and oftentimes they'll cause more inflammation in the body, which is just this vicious cycle. But it blows me away when we're attacking natural substances like cannabis or like kratom, which has been shown to also help people kick opioid addiction and different things like that. So it really blows me the fuck away, man. I don't understand it.
It's so crazy because, we can go through a list of fighters. I can go through a list of my friends that, were on my football team and, were given Percocets or Vicodin, and they had no idea what, they trust their doctor. And they had no idea what was happening. And then, you fast forward a couple years down the road and, they're at high school, they're at a party and they're doing Percocets. And then you fast forward another year and they're homeless on the streets, stealing, begging for money, wind up in jail. Like, it's a vicious road. It's very scary when, these doctors are handing out opiates, even to older people out there. It's just so scary. And, the other day, me and my grandmother went out shopping. And we stopped at Krauser's, which is like a Wawa or, a regular gas station. And they have CBD everywhere in there, which was, amazing to see. Even at the pet store, they have CBD for dogs and cats. It's really breaking down a lot of walls.
Yeah, man, it's definitely cool to see. Yeah, my girlfriend and I, we also give our dog CBD for anxiety. So it's cool to see, and it's great that more and more doctors are learning about it. It's unfortunate that we kind of live in this pharmaceutical model of healthcare, which we never really actually treat people to be healthy. We're just managing symptoms, and it's really just sick care. So it's real unfortunate, but hopefully more and more doctors will be educated on, natural ways to heal and, recommend more diet and lifestyle changes and supplementation of the right things that, when it's needed, as opposed to just throwing a pill at something and saying, here, take this. And if it doesn't work, we'll just give you a different pill or whatever the case may be, man. So it's crazy times, but also exciting at the same time because, we are making a lot of headway.
Yeah, I feel like our generation is definitely knocking down a lot of these walls because I remember when I was in middle school and high school and my parents would bring me to these psychiatrists, be like, oh, what's wrong with him? And like, here, we're going to put him on this pill and that pill and we'll see what happens. Instead of just going, or you know what they would do? They'd be like, oh, he has ADD or ADHD or he's bipolar. Or how about you guys actually talk to me about what's going on? And maybe it could be, the substance abuse going on in my family or what's going on behind closed doors. Why don't we talk about that before, we talk for 30 minutes and you're giving me all these medicines to try. It's just crazy, and I'm glad to see a lot of awareness on it. And I like talking to fighters about this specifically because, you guys are in that position where, you're almost forced to take these pills. And we've seen a lot of fighters, ruin their careers when they fall into opiate addiction. So as we move forward with this interview, man, there's a lot of exciting things going on in your life that I'm kind of jealous on. You just went on like a little mini vacation. You were living in a van. What's going on with that? Share that story and, why you did that.
Yeah, brother. I just got back from LA. I was out there for about a week. And, man, so I just started on this journey, like I said, like 2 years ago, like the week before my last fight, man, I got fired from my job, and it just sent me down this whole new path. And I've been talking about going to LA for so long, and it's like this someday thing. Someday's not a day on the calendar, like it never comes. So I was like, man, forget it. Like, I need to figure this out. There was a steel mace workshop I wanted to attend last weekend on the Saturday and Sunday. So I'm like, all right, cool. I can go out there. I'll do this. I'll make sure that I'll work while I'm out there. I'll connect with people and do podcasts. I had, a couple friends out there I wanted to connect with. So I'm like, just cut the shit, save the excuses. Let's get it done. I used airline miles to get out there and back. So it barely cost me anything to actually get there. And then I didn't want to spend money on getting a rental car and having to pay for a hotel, because that can add up. And I'm on a shoestring budget right now. I'm just trying to make it happen, while I'm building everything. So instead of making excuses, I just found a way, man. So I rented a van while I was out there and just rolled around and parked outside my friend's house, and they let me use I get to use the facilities and stuff. So I was able to shower and whatnot, but it kept me mobile. That way I could get around and do what I needed to do, and it still saved me some money. So it all worked out, man. I hate how people make excuses and they'll always find a reason why they can't get something done. But I mean, if you live with intent and you're willing to put in the work and sacrifice a little bit, dude, there's no reason why you can't make something happen.
So what was that experience like? Because I tuned into your Instagram live, and that's kind of how we reconnected to get you back on the podcast. You were sitting by the ocean, and you're just kind of thinking about life, and I think everyone needs to do that. I think everyone needs to just break away. Some people get trapped, and they get, thrown in this cycle of living, and it's got to be so refreshing. Now that you went and you did that, do you feel some sense of refreshment in life, kind of a new outlook in a way?
Yeah, man, there was a lot gained from that trip. That first day, which is whenever we caught up on the Facebook Live. I got there, and I've always wanted to drive up the Pacific Coast Highway. So that's what I did, man. I probably drove around for about 3.5 hours before I actually stopped and parked on the beach for another hour or two and chilled there. But I just drove around all of LA, like drove up the coast and then back down it and through the mountains and just exploring everywhere and just taking it all in. And yeah, dude, it was definitely a really good moment, because it was kind of like that realization, like, yeah, man, like, you can do this, and I am doing it, and whatever it may be, it's just I have a goal in life and I'm pursuing it, and it's just kind of that affirmation of it's really this simple. It's really as simple as just making a decision and going and doing it. And I thought about how much time I spent doing other things, and it's like, man, all the times, going and getting my degree and working the corporate 9 to 5, and it's like all that wasn't really anything I wanted to do. It was just something I believed I had to do based off what I was taught growing up. But here I am today, like, saying, like, that's not the way. Like, it is a way for some people, but it's not the only way to do it, and it's definitely not the way for me. So it just felt amazing just being there on the ocean, just in an amazing environment. It was just all good vibes, and it just felt amazing, dude.
So instead of you're going through a hard time, instead of handing you antidepressants, some people just need to get away, take a van, and go sit by the water, and that could be so helpful. Now, there's something that I really like where you brought up, man. Life is so short. I could walk out here right now after this interview, get hit by a car and die. You could, die right after this interview as well. And, life happens in the blink of an eye. You don't want to live with regrets. And there's so many people out there that want to do this and they want to do that. Or they have all these dreams. And that, like you said, they fall into a cycle. They fall in safety nets. People are bashing their dreams and they give up, man. And it's so discouraging, which is why, when I saw you doing the Instagram Live, I was like, man, I got to get back in touch with Adam and have him share his message. So one thing I thought was pretty cool on your trip, or, a couple days ago, you did like a day in the life with like one of your friends. What was the motivation behind that? I thought that was pretty cool and very creative.
Yeah, man. So, that was my buddy Kyle Brown. He's one of the owners of Jumbo Superfoods. And, just a couple of things. It was kind of like just a small way I would hopefully be able to add a little bit of value to him while I was there. It helped me get better. I'm always just trying to produce content and get better at it on the video side of things. So, there's like the practical application there, me getting better, and then, providing him some value, and then, it just kind of all worked out. So, it's just something I enjoy to do, and if I can provide value to those around me, I'll try to do it.
Before we end this interview, I got 2 more questions here for you. You said that you started a podcast. What is it about your podcast that stands out for people to go, oh, let me go check this out? What does your podcast bring to the scene?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, the podcast is called Outside Perspective. I'm releasing episodes every Monday and every Thursday consistently. We're on all platforms that YouTube, Stitcher, Podbean, Spotify, all everything. We're on everything. But, essentially, it's just me sitting down, having a real conversation with interesting people from all walks of life. And, my hope is just to provide people with a different perspective on how they can look at the world, and hopefully they'll learn something.
And it's so helpful to hear from, athletes or, people with a background, because, for myself, I've been around so many people from high school that you try to maintain relationships with that you kind of outgrow people. So it's nice to talk to, world champions or athletes and feel, you every podcast I do, I learn something. I realize something or reminded of something. And I think there's a lot of benefits to podcasting. There's no filter either. Like for years we used to watch TV and there's a filter on there. Podcasts, it's so refreshing to just hear somebody's thoughts without a hidden agenda behind it, or like, a brainwashing material or commercials and all that shit. So, man, I wish you best of skill and luck with the podcast that you got going on. We'll put the links down below. Last but not least, man, you don't picture yourself fighting in MMA ever again. So are you doing Jiu-Jitsu competitions? Does EBI excite you? What are you doing for competition? Or are you just done completely with the competitive side of the sport?
At this point in the game, I'm pretty much done, man. I was actually talking to my coach about this the other day. Last year, I competed 5 times last year. I was invited to the On It Open Invitational, the 8th one that they had, and I competed at Worlds. So, and then I just competed back in January. I'll probably do the On It Open again here at the Paleo FX conference at the end of April down in Austin. But outside of that, man, I'm pretty much over competing in that regard. The only type of competition I really want to do at this stage of the game is just kind of, in business and in life. Yeah. It's less about the athletic endeavors. Honestly, I know what it takes to compete at a high level, and I don't really want to do that anymore. So I'd rather put that energy into something that's actually probably going to grow my bank account and give me more meetings. So yeah, I'm over that for sure.
Last question: are you following up with the UFC? Are you still an MMA fan? Are you keeping up with a lot of the big fights and events going on?
I don't really follow sports at all, to be honest with you. I just if they're on, I'll see that, or if I go to, like, a friend will have some fights on at the house, invite people over, I'll go over that. But honestly, more so just to socialize. I kind of keep my ear to the ground a little bit. I'll hear what's going on just because I'm always in an MMA gym, but it's not anything that I follow anymore, man.
All right, man. You know what we like to do at this point in the interview? I hand the imaginary microphone over to you. If you want to throw out your social media tags, sponsors, shout-outs, anything at all, the floor is now all yours, Adam.
Hey, appreciate it, brother. Yeah, everybody just, again, check me out. My podcast is Outside Perspective. You can catch me on all platforms. Check out my company, Imposed Will. You can check us out on Instagram. It's just Imposed Will. And then my personal is Adam Meredith _. Yeah, man, I think that's pretty much it. Just you can imposedwill.com. You can check me out there. And then just one more plug for Jumbo Superfoods, man. They're sponsoring the podcast, and they've showed me so much love. I just really appreciate them, and their products are amazing. So you can go to jumbocbd.com. You can use the code OUTSIDE at checkout, and you'll save 20% off entire order. So go check that out.
And you guys can follow Adam as well on Twitter. I just pulled it up on screen at Imposable. All the links will be down below. Adam, thank you so much for joining us once again, man. We wish you best of luck moving on in the business side of the world. So thank you so much, man, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks again, brother.
Have a good one. There you guys go. Adam Meredith joining us once again. It's so awesome to hear from fighters. I spoke with him, I think, about 2 years ago. It may have been 2015, so 4 years ago. Holy shit. And I think he was managed by Brian Levick, I believe, who, God rest his soul, one of the people that really helped me get my foot ahead in this scene. And to hear from Adam and what he's doing now, and the background story of what he was just able to share here. So this happens to a lot of fighters. Their competitive spirit just kind of, goes away. They want to start new ventures. And for him doing a podcast, him doing, the travel thing, him sharing about CBD and the benefits of that, him sharing the knowledge that he has at his gym, training and coaching. It's just amazing to see a new adventure for these guys, because fighting's very difficult, man. Think about how many fighters are out there trying to do the same thing, trying to become world champion, chasing after the UFC, and it's a long battle. And even world champions get hated on. So these guys coming up, they get, it's frustrating. It's very hard, and a lot of people will just quit and disappear. Here's Adam doing his damn thing after his MMA career, still competing in jiu-jitsu and stuff like that, still training, still spreading knowledge, and it's just so amazing to see. So make sure to give him a follow. All the links will be down below here on YouTube, iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, and make sure to subscribe here on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, YouTube. And we have a couple special guests joining us here today. We have a UFC fighter and someone from ESPN. Don't want to ruin it. Don't want to ruin it. So tune in later today. All the links will be up. It will all be on episode 206 of Pure EVil MMA on iTunes, all edited together. If you're listening on Periscope, make sure to give us a thumbs up or a like or a heart. Subscribe, because we do a lot of these interviews, and I'm going to try to get the chat room in here. I got to figure out how to plug it in so we can see what you guys are saying on Periscope when I do these live interviews, and you guys can ask whatever questions you want to these fighters. I'm Evil Eddie from Pure EVil MMA. Check out pureevilmma.com for all the latest interviews and MMA news. Also, guys, don't forget, white knuckles till the end. Remember, without evil, there's no purity. Behave yourselves.